Hello everybody and welcome back to What's the Word. Today is Monday, February 22nd, 2021. And today the word comes from Proverbs 3 verse 3, which reads, "Let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart." There's a lot I want to take from that, so I'll break it down piece by piece. Let not mercy and truth forsake you. Both of those are qualities of God, so don't let qualities of being merciful and honest leave you. God is love and mercy, and Jesus is truth. Bind them around your neck. Much like you wear a cross around your neck, keep these qualities close to you. In fact, in Matthew 16, verse 29, Jesus said, if you want to be his follower, you have to deny yourself, meaning, leaving behind qualities that aren't like him, and take up your cross. So bind qualities like this around you and take them with you. And lastly, write them on the tablet of your heart. For this, I want to go to Psalm 119 verse 11, which reads, I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. So from that, I want to say that the best way to fight the forces of evil is knowing the word of God. In scoreboard watching, Georgetown was in action on Saturday, defeating Seton Hall 81-75. For the Hoyas, it was another instance of sloppy ball movement accompanied by hot shooting, as they turned the ball over 18 times but shot 50% from the floor and 62% from three, knocking down 10 of their 16 attempts. Jamarco Pickett dropped a season-high 20 points, Qudus Wahab had an 11-point, 11-rebound double-double, and freshman guard Dante Harris added an impressive 14 points to go along with 8 assists and 7 rebounds. Next up for Georgetown, they will face UConn on Tuesday at 9 p.m., marking one of their 4 remaining games. And since they have a 7-10 record, 5-7 in their own conference, I don't think that the NCAA tournament is in reach for them, but they still do have a shot at the NIT tournament. As for Maryland, they were in action yesterday, defeating Rutgers 68-59, marking their 4th consecutive win. The Terps played stifling defense for huge chunks of the game, holding Rutgers without a made field goal for the final 5 minutes and 16 seconds of the first half, the first 2 minutes and 10 seconds of the second half, and the last 4 minutes and 37 seconds of the game. Maryland limited Rutgers' leading scorer Ron Harper Jr. to just 6 points, and they were able to turn 15 Scarlet Knight turnovers into 20 points on their end. All 5 of Maryland's starters scored in double figures as Eric Ayala led the way with 14 points, and Aaron Wiggins had a 13-point, 10-rebound double-double. Next up for Maryland, one of their 3 remaining games comes next Sunday as they host Michigan State at 2 p.m. Maryland is the 30th ranked team as far as net efficiency, which makes them a quad 1 team, and if you're a little confused about quads in NCAA like I was, here's a slight graphic which should make it easier. Maryland has played 15 quad 1 games, which is first in the entire nation, and they have 5 total wins, which is tied for 8th, and no losses coming in quad 2, 3, or 4. Factor in the fact that Maryland plays in the Big Ten, which is arguably the toughest conference in college basketball, as the Big Ten has 5 teams ranked in the top 25 of the AP poll. Only the Big 12 has more, with 6 teams ranked. Maryland has a chance to finish their conference record above 500 as they're currently 8-9, and all 3 of their remaining games come against conference opponents who do not have a winning record. So if everything holds to form, Maryland should be able to make it into the big tournament come March. Moving on to hockey, where the Washington Capitals were in action 3 times, posting a record of 2-1, moving the record overall to 9 wins, 5 regulation losses, and 3 overtime losses, good enough for second in the Mass Mutual East Division. On Thursday, the Capitals defeated the Buffalo Sabres 3-1. The Caps played another well-rounded game, finding success in just about every facet. In the first period, Nicholas Backstrom scored on Washington's only power play, giving him his team-leading 8th goal of the season. Tom Wilson scored a shorthanded goal in the second period, stripping the puck in the defensive zone before skating in on the breakaway and finishing around Buffalo's goalie with a beautiful backhand deke. Connor Sherry's third period goal gave the Caps a 3-0 lead, but they were unable to secure the shutout as the Sabres scored on the power play of their own shortly after the halfway mark of the final stanza. Washington finished 1 for 2 on their penalty kill, and goaltender Vitek Vanacek stopped 22 of the 23 shots he faced. That brought us to Saturday, where the Capitals were on the wrong end of the ledger, losing to the New York Rangers 4-1. The Capitals carried their strong defensive play into the first period, where they only allowed 6 shots on goal. But they still found themselves down 1-0 at intermission, thanks to New York's goal on the power play. 2 second-period goals in quick succession put the Rangers up 3-0 before the Caps were able to strike. Dmitry Orlov's goal 38 seconds before the second intermission gave Washington hope, but an uneventful third period, capped off with an empty net goal, sealed the Capitals' fate. The Capitals were 4-5 on the penalty kill for the day, only allowing the power play goal in the first period, but they were 0-4 on their own man advantage. Vitek Vanacek stopped 20 of the 23 shots he faced, but he continues to struggle with rebound control as many young goaltenders do, allowing 2 goals off caroms he failed to corral. The Capitals got back into the win column yesterday, defeating the New Jersey Devils 4-3. When the NHL's initial schedule came out, Sunday, February 21st, pitted the Capitals against the New York Rangers for their second game in as many days. But thanks to some COVID-related reshuffling, the league instead had the New Jersey Devils come into town. That wouldn't be the only scheduling oddity, as the game was supposed to take place at 7, but the NHL once again pulled off the switcheroo, pushing this national television game to 2 p.m., so the league's other national TV matchup, an outdoors event at Lake Tahoe, could take place in the evening for better ice conditions. This change did not bode well for Washington, as they were winless in their previous 5 afternoon games on the season, losing 3 times in regulation and twice in overtime. Things did not look promising for the Capitals after New Jersey jumped out to a 2-goal lead, but the Caps would come back to life thanks to their power play. TJ Oshie pulled Washington within 1 goal during the second period with his tally on the man advantage. John Carlson scored the team's lone goal at even strength to tie the game. Then Oshie added his second goal of the game, also on the power play. And Alex Ovechkin rounded out the team's scoring as New Jersey once again had a man in the penalty box. The Devils would get a goal back in the final 11 seconds of the game after pulling their goalie for an extra attacker, but the damage had already been done. In total, the Capitals scored on 3 of their 4 power plays and were successful killing off 2 of the 3 penalties they took. Craig Anderson started at goaltender in place of Vitek Vanacek, and surprisingly over Ilya Samsonov, who head coach Peter Laviolette said is still working on his conditioning despite being back with the team. The fact that Vitek Vanacek didn't start wasn't the surprise to me, as this was a back-to-back game on back-to-back days, and both happening in the afternoon, but the surprise to me was the fact that it wasn't Ilya Samsonov. Like I said, he is back with the team, and he did have a conditioning stint with the AHL Hershey Bears, so I definitely thought that he would get the nod. Instead, it was Craig Anderson, who didn't see any action in the 13 straight games that Vitek Vanacek started, other than coming in the third period of the game against the Philadelphia Flyers after Vitek Vanacek was pulled after a bad start. Craig Anderson did get the job done though, stopping 23 of the 26 shots he faced. Next up for the Capitals, they will be in action against the Pittsburgh Penguins tomorrow at 7 p.m. As for the Washington Wizards, before they even took the court, they got some good news, as Bradley Beal, the league's leading scorer, was named an All-Star starter for the first time in his career. Bradley Beal received 3.4 million fan votes which was the most for an Eastern Conference guard and only less than 6 other players in the NBA. This comes after only receiving 805,000 votes last season and not being voted into the All-Star game. The now 3-time All-Star said he's in the same boat as other players around the league and still not 100% sure if he'll play in the game come March 7th in Atlanta. Now for the game that was played. On Saturday, the Wizards defeated the Portland Trail Blazers 118-111, marking their 4th consecutive win, which is the team's longest win streak since January of 2018. League-leading scorer Bradley Beal added to his average, dropping 37 points on 16-27 shooting. He also added 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, but he had 5 turnovers on the game. As for his backcourt mate Russell Westbrook, he arguably had his best game in a Wizards uniform, dropping 27 points on 11 of 17 shooting, which translates to 64% from the field, shooting over 60% for the first time all season long. Russ did miss his only 3-point attempt, but I was glad to see that he didn't force threes in this game, and he was 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Add in 13 assists and 11 rebounds, and you have Russell Westbrook's 8th triple-double of the season. But he did have 7 turnovers, and to talk about that real quick, I know I harp on turnovers a lot, but for Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook to have the most turnovers in the game and those to be your higher usage players, it kind of makes it a little bit better. They combined for 12 total turnovers, and the team as a total only had 16, so you can kind of live with it, but I would like to see them take care of the ball a little bit better. Russell Westbrook's 8th triple-double of the season passes John Wall and Wes Unseld for 2nd in franchise history. That's not 2nd in single-season triple-doubles, that's 2nd all-time in Wizards Bullets franchise history, now only trailing Darrell Walker, who leads the franchise with 15. Rui Hachimura was the Wizards' 3rd leading scorer as he added 17 points on 5 of 12 shooting, knocking down 7 of his 8 free throw attempts. He also added 7 rebounds and 3 steals. The most improved part of Rui's game is his defense. Scott Brooks has lauded him for most of the season for his ability to guard 1 through 5, and Rui Hachimura has been saying it in practice, so his teammates are holding him up to it. And in this game was probably his best showing of that ability to guard 1 through 5. He played a little bit of small ball center in this game and was able to hold his own, but I thought the most impressive part was when he was switched on to Damian Lillard, holding him to 0 of 4 shooting from the floor. Robin Lopez added a 10-point, 11-rebound double-double, but his biggest contribution came on the defensive end, as all players he guarded went a collective 0 of 13 from the floor. Add in the fact that over this 10-game stretch where the Wizards are playing their best defense, Robin Lopez leads the team with a 101.4 defensive rating. Davis Bertans only had 6 points on 2 of 8 shooting from 3, but both of those threes came in the 4th quarter in clutch time. And add in the fact that the Wizards are now 10-10 on the season when Davis Bertans knocked down multiple threes, and you can see that this was a big factor in why they won this game. To point out something I've really liked, I'll show you the minute log from the game. And while you can see from this, it was really only an 8 to 9 man rotation, everybody who did play played big minutes. Isaac Bonga only played 5 minutes, but Scott Brooks said it was probably the biggest 5 minutes that Isaac has played all season. And I'll kind of argue with that, saying that maybe his biggest minutes came against the Nets with guarding the inbounder. But Alex Len, also only playing 5 minutes, had 2 big blocks, and he actually led the Wizards in blocks in the game. So I really like how Scott Brooks has been, dishing out minutes lately. Of course, I'd like to see Jerome Robinson get some more minutes. By the way, today's his birthday, so happy birthday to Jerome Robinson. And I'd like to see Troy Brown Jr. get some more minutes, but all in all, if things keep looking like this and Scott Brooks can, do small switches to his rotations and get guys those 5 minutes, different guys those 5 minutes in different games, then this team could really, start, stacking up some wins. The Wizards had a really good shooting night. They only shot 23% from three, but that's kind of been their struggle area. They shot 50% from the floor, and they got the job done in the paint as they outscored the Trailblazers 56-36 in the painted area. As for the Wizards' defense, though, the first quarter wasn't the greatest, as they allowed 43 points, though they were able to turn that around and only allow 12 points in the second quarter. Damian Lillard led the Trailblazers with 37 points, but 23 of those came in the third quarter, so they did a good job on him overall, as he only shot 10 of 30 from the floor. As much as the Wizards have improved defensively, and mostly they've improved guarding the three-point line, the Trailblazers still knocked down 19 threes, but it came on 55 attempts, which is 34%. But it's kind of who you play as well. The Trailblazers are 5th in the league in three-point percentage and 2nd overall in makes, so I'd say that the Wizards kind of played a pretty good game against the Trailblazers. Next up for the Wizards, they do continue their road trip against the NBA's reigning champions, the Los Angeles Lakers, today at 10 p.m. The last 10 games for the Washington Wizards has been their best stretch of the season. They've posted a 6-4 record over that time, but their defense has really stepped up. As you can see from these stats, pulled by Chase Hughes of NBC Sports Washington, the Wizards are not only in the top 1/2 of the league, they're in the top 3rd for all of these stats and in the top 6th for the majority of these stats. There are some outliers like the blowout loss to Miami, but since that first game in Miami on February the 3rd, the Wizards have been one of the better defensive teams in the league. And if it wasn't for their offense kind of lagging behind, they could have a better record than that. They had the blowout loss in Miami, they had a bad loss to the Knicks, and they had a bad loss to the Raptors. Speaking of the Raptors, the Wizards' three-point percentage allowed is also down. They've only allowed... on the season, they've allowed the 28th worst three-point percentage from opponents at 38.2%. But over the last 10 games, they've upped that to 12th in the league at only 34% per team. And factor in the fact that the Raptors shot 59% from three, and that stat could be a lot better for the Wizards. So if this trend can continue, the Wizards right now sit a half game back of the play-in and 2.5 games back of the 8th seed. A lot of season left to play, but if they can start playing defense like this consistently and get their offense to start clicking again, then watch out for the Washington Wizards. That's all I have for today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. God bless.